Hello everyone, hope all are doing good. This is the second session of our third lesson, fiber to fabric, fiber to fabric. So do you remember what we had learned last class? Yes, last class we had learned about animal fibers, that is the wool. So today we are going to begin with the next animal fiber, that is the silk, So silk is also an animal fiber that is produced from the silkworm. So the silk is produced from the silkworm. Silk is produced from the silkworm, and the rearing of silkworm to obtain silk is known as sericulture. The rearing of silkworm to obtain silk is known as sericulture. Is known as sericulture. So rearing of silkworm. Rearing means to look after. So rearing of silkworm to obtain silk is known as sericulture. The life history of silk moth. The lifespan of silk moth is only about 2 months. So the lifespan, what do you mean by lifespan? Lifespan means the life period. So the life period of silk moth is only about 2 months. And the life cycle of silk moth has 4 stages. The life cycle of silk moth has 4 stages. So we will study each steps one at a time. So I told you the life cycle of silk moth has 4 stages. In the first stage, the female silk moth lays eggs. So in first stage, the female silk moth lays eggs. So that is the first stage known as the laying of egg. So female silk moth will lay the egg. That is the first stage. After that, in second stage, the egg hatches into larvae. The egg hatches into larvae, and this larvae is known as silkworm or caterpillar. So this egg hatches into larvae called as silkworm or also known as caterpillar. Also known as caterpillar. So 2 stages. In first stage, the female silk moth will lay the egg. That is the first stage. After that, second stage, the egg hatches into larvae. That larvae is known as silkworm, also known as caterpillar. The silkworm feeds on mulberry leaves and grows bigger in size within 3 to 4 weeks. So 3 to 4 weeks they will continuously eat these mulberry leaves and they grow bigger in size. Next is the third stage, and it is a very important stage. In this stage, the caterpillar or the silkworm secretes fibers from their body. So the silkworm will secrete fibers or threads from their body, and these fibers are rich in proteins. And when exposed to air, it becomes harder. This fiber becomes harder. So this is the third stage. In third stage, the silkworm, they will secrete some fibers from their body. So from their bodies, fibers are secreted, and these fibers are rich in protein, and when exposed to air, this fiber becomes harder. And this process continues for a long weeks. And the whole body of the silkworm is covered by this fiber. The caterpillar weaves the fiber around itself through figure of 8 movement to form cocoon. So what happened is that this silkworm, the body of the silkworm is covered by this fiber in the shape of 8. So what happened is that this silkworm, this fiber is covered in the body of the silkworm in the figure of 8. In the figure of 8, the whole body is covered by this thread, and this thread is known as the cocoon. This thread is known as the cocoon. The caterpillar takes 3 to 7 days to prepare the cocoon. So 3 to 7 days they will weave these fibers to form the cocoon, and inside the cocoon the silkworm changes into pupa. So inside this cocoon, this silkworm changes into pupa. She changes into pupa. So this stage is also known as pupal stage. So cocoon or pupal stage. So this is about the third stage. So in third stage, the body of the silkworm will be covered by this fiber. That fiber is known as the cocoon, and inside the cocoon the silkworm is changed into pupa, and this is the third stage. A few weeks later, the cocoon breaks or opens and adult moth comes out of it. So a few weeks later, this cocoon will open and the silk moth will come out of the cocoon. The silk moth will come out of the cocoon, and this is the fourth stage. So in fourth stage, the cocoon, inside the cocoon, already I told you pupa is there. The pupa will be converted into silk moth, and the cocoon opens and the silk moth come out of the cocoon, and this is the fourth stage. So and this life cycle continues. So this is the life history of silk moth. And the silk fibers are obtained from this cocoon. Silk fibers are obtained from this cocoon. And children, don't be confused with this silk moth and the silkworm. Silk moth means that butterfly like insect is known as the silk moth, and this worm is known as the silkworm, and we get silk from this silkworm. So next we will study about from cocoon to silk. So how these cocoons are converted into silk. The rearing of silkworm to obtain silk is called sericulture, and the people who practice sericulture are called silkworm farmers. So people who are practicing sericulture are known as silkworm farmers. A female silk moth lays hundreds of eggs at a time, and these eggs are stored in a strip of paper or clothes. So this female moth will lay hundreds of eggs, and these eggs are stored in a strip of paper or a strip of clothes, and this is sold to silkworm farmers. So female moth will lay hundreds of eggs, and these eggs are stored in a strip of paper or clothes, and these eggs are sold to silkworm farmers. The farmers keep the eggs under hygienic condition. Under suitable temperature, the egg hatches into larvae. So under suitable temperature, this egg hatches into larvae. And what is this larvae called, children? Yes, the silkworm or the caterpillar. So this silkworm or the caterpillar, they will eat continuously day and night, and they grow bigger in size. So continuously in day and night they will be eating this mulberry leaves. And they increase in size. And these larvae are kept in a clean bamboo tray along with freshly chopped mulberry leaves. So after increasing in size, this larvae or the silkworm is kept in a bamboo tray. Along with the mulberry leaves. So along with the mulberry leaves will keep the silkworm also. So along with this mulberry leaves we will keep the silkworm in a bamboo tray. After 25 to 30 days, this silkworm stops eating the mulberry leaves, and they are moved to the tiny chambers of bamboo tray. So after 25 to 30 days, this silkworm will stop eating, and they are moved into a tiny chambers of bamboo tray to spin the cocoon. So they are moved to tiny chambers of bamboo tray to spin the cocoon. Inside the cocoon, the silkworm develops into silk moth. The cocoons are boiled, kept under the sun or exposed to steam. By doing so, the silk fibers are separated out. The process of taking out the threads from the cocoon for the use of silk is called reeling of silk. So, the process of taking out the threads from the cocoon. So, from the cocoon, these threads are taken out, and that process is known as reeling of silk. And reeling is done in special machines. So, this reeling process is done in special machines. So, by using these special machines, the silk fibers are unwinded from the cocoon, and further these silk fibers are spinned into silk threads and which are woven into silk clothes by weavers. So, the silk fibers are spinned into silk thread. These silk fibers are spinned into silk thread, and this silk thread are made into silk clothes by weavers. So that's all about this lesson, fiber to fabric. So before winding up, we'll just go for a quick recap. So first we have studied about the animal fiber, the wool. First we have studied about wool. So we have studied what is wool, then animals that yield the or gives us the wool. Then we have studied the processing of fibers into wool. That is the 6 steps. Remember that, children? That is the shearing, scouring, sorting, cleaning the burrs, dyeing, and the rolling. These are the 6 steps that is involved in the processing of fibers into wool. Then we studied about the silk, what is silk, and the term sericulture. Don't forget the term sericulture. Sericulture means the rearing of silkworm to produce or to obtain silk is known as sericulture. Then we studied about the life history of silk moth, the 4 stages. You have to study that 4 stages, and then don't be confused with these 2, silk moth and the silkworm. Silkworm moth means the butterfly like insect is known as the silk moth, and the silkworm means that worm that produces the silk is known as the silkworm. Then we studied about the how these cocoons are converted into silk. That process also should be remembered. So thank you, children. See you next class.